Hey guys, it's Ellen and welcome to my channel. Today is Friday, so let's do some Floral Friday. And why not do some Valentine's Day cards? I know you guys are excited. This is super easy, even for a beginner to do this. I go over this step by step on how to create this kind of look. Pretty simple, and I even talk about how to create some of the simple flowers that I used here, especially the roses. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Also, don't forget to hit the bell notification button to know my tutorial's up. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Also, check out my Patreon. I have ad-free videos, traceables, exclusive tutorials on Thursdays, a live stream once a month in top tier, as well as a download for me. It's just a place people go and support my channel, which I appreciate so much. You can check it out in a second right up here. Boop. So without further ado, let's get painting some cards. Okay guys, so for this tutorial, let's talk about supplies. I have two pieces of, I'm using Arches 100% cotton cold press paper here. These are like 4.5 by 6. And then I have craft paper, which is basically a 7 by 10 folded in half. So then when you go to finish this paper, you can just glue it on top of this one and you have your card. You don't even have to do that. You can glue it on top of white, or if you don't even want to use Arches paper, you don't have to. It's just a good paper if you want to do like nice wet on wet kind of like florals. But like I said, you can use cheaper paper for this particular exercise because it's cards. It's nothing that's really going to be framed probably. Or maybe it will. Maybe someone's going to take the card part off, which they could, and frame it because it'd be really pretty. It can be timeless. I printed, so really this is simple technique and simple design to do. Really, in the beginner can do this, really. You can draw a heart, you can do this. So I have also masking fluid and my palette here, my paints. I always talk about which paints I'll use as I go to use them. I like to paint intuitively, so I don't really have a plan sometimes, and I paint with colors. So I talk about what I'm mixing, when I'm mixing it, and then I have the colors I use in the description box, so you can go back over that. I'll be playing around with a couple of brushes. Playing around with my Princeton 8 long round. I might use maybe a bigger brush, maybe a Princeton 10 Neptune series. If I want a fatter kind of rounder brush tip. I don't think I need to do like a number 4 brush, small brush, because the new Princeton brush is fairly new, so it's got a nice point to it. You know, when they're new, they're really nice and pointy. When they're not, they're kind of worn and not so great. So paper towels, water jars. So I use masking fluid. I just bought this cheap, it's called PBO. You can get it on Amazon. I have a link in the description box. I don't use a really nice brush to put the masking fluid. See, I just drew a simple heart and I put the masking. Now you don't want a couple of tips of masking fluid. You don't want to leave it open because it will dry out pretty quickly. You don't want to shake it up. I just use like a cheap little, paint palette thing here, and I just put a little in there and I use it from there. And I use like a crappy little brush and then just fill it in. Now for the wording, if you're not really good at writing the word out, maybe you want a particular typeface to use, you can just print it out on your printer if you have a printer, like I did here, right? Put it on your paper, put some graphite paper underneath this, trace it, and then you can use the masking fluid or write out whatever type, whatever you want to do, however you want to do the type. You didn't even have to do an O. You could do a heart instead, giving you suggestions for making it different. But just keeping it simple here. So we'll put these craft cards away on the side here. And this away. We'll put these away. PBO. So if you want to make your life simple, you can do the same kind of floral pattern you're going to do here. You're basically just going to fill it all around here and here, and what's going to be left when we remove the masking fluid. Actually, I have this special little tool. It's a rubber cement pickup. It picks it up great, fast and easy. It's like $4, and you have it forever. I mean, I've had this forever. So it's easier than you can use tape or something else, but I just find it like so much easier and cleaner to do that. My suggestion, if you can, because you're going to have the paint colors already mixed for doing one of them, use the same one for the second card, or whatever, how many cards you're going to use. Or you can make a variation where you have all the colors mixed up and you're only using 2 on this one and like 3 on this one, whatever. And you can make this all bright colors. It doesn't even have to be Valentine colors. It could be any color you want, and just an idea for you guys to try. Okay, and then if you have a hard time doing florals, I have lots of flower practice tutorials on my YouTube. I'm just going to grab a piece of scrap, and we could talk about, hold on, I'm grabbing some, just grab some cheap scrap paper. Oh, this is cheap to me. This is like a Strathmore cotton paper, but it's flatter, doesn't have the rough edges that the other ones do. So you always kind of want to practice on cheap paper. I'll practice with my bigger brush and my skinnier brush. So I practice with my Princeton 8, and I'll practice with my Neptune. So I'm just going to grab some magenta. I have quinachradone magenta, which is a beautiful bright pink. I mean, just taking it out right from the tube, adding a little water. Look at the intensity of that color. Pretty fantastic, right? You add some more water, tap it on the paper towel, it gets even lighter. More water, tap it on the paper towel, even lighter. See? That's how you make the colors lighter. With water, you're adding water. With acrylic paint, you're adding white. That's how you make the colors lighter. Now, that's just a fuchsia color. You can take that same color and make a red with it by adding some cadmium yellow deep I have here. I'm going to grab a little more of this yellow. And I've got a red. Oh, it's a little orange. I'll go add some more magenta. So you can make these two red, or you can have a red. If you have a red color paint, you can use that. Grab a little more of this. See, you get a nice red. And the same thing, you add the water. Gets lighter. See where we're going this? And it's lighter. So you're going to start with some of these colors. I'm going to mix the magenta with the yellow again, and you can make a blush tone. See, depending on how much color of each, a little blushy kind of color, a little more yellow. All right, so I'm just going to practice a couple of roses. I always tell people, it's kind of think of like curved lines. It depends on how we want to do roses. Everyone's roses are different. Some people do really realistic roses and loose ones. There's a couple of ways you can do loose roses. You can take a really deep color like the magenta one I have here, just right from the tube. Right? You're putting a line, a little line. I'll zoom in. See those little lines? They're curving, and then you curve again, curve again, curve again. Just like that. Then you clean up your brush. You still have a little water on your brush. If there's too much water, you tap it on a paper towel. And you're going to take that water, and you just kind of hit the edge of the last line there. See that? Already it's looking pretty. And then you manipulate. See, the paper's different, so it's puddling a little bit different. But you just kind of maneuver this paint outward, leaving some white. And you have this simple, pretty, pale, loose rose. When that dries, you can go back in and add some tones. So just get used to see how leaving these little white spaces with curving, curving, curving. See, that looks like a loose rose. But I didn't do the water part. I can go back in and just kind of push the paint around. If it's too much water, I always tell people, paper towel close by. See how I'm just tapping it? I do that often. Remove the paint. Another loose rose. You see that? I think they're fairly simple. You just got to get used to doing the curving part. See the curve, 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 go around the spaces. You can add a red color to that, as well as the magenta. Mix the two. Let's see what we've got. Then you clean up your brush, grab some water, blend it. You can go ahead and grab some yellow and mix that in there too. You see where I'm going with this? You're playing with color. That's just a simple loose rose. If you're really, really beginner and you don't know how to do leaves, I'm mixing my yellow with my peacock blue. These are two colors I like to make a nice bright green with. I'm going to zoom back out. You don't really need to stay that close. And then just this curve, curve, connect. And you might leave a little space in between. And since it has a nice point, you can kind of drag it out, the paint, to get a nice point for the leaf and drag it out here for a stem. So you're doing the curve, curve, connecting it. There's still water kind of bubbling in here like paint. And you can just, let me show you real quick. You're dragging it. See? To the point. And it will dry on this paper because it's not an arch paper. It's going to have some hard edges and dry, but like sometimes that's really pretty. You're just going to get used to using your brush. I hold the brush different ways. I hold it like a pen. Sometimes I hold it this way, like on the side. You know, and then you have certain brushes to make it easy stems. So this is how you can make really simple flower, like a rose and some leaves. And then the same brush, because it's a pointy brush, I'm gonna grab another. You can make nice simple, see, like loopy daisies, like that. There's all different kinds of flowers you can do. So, and then in the bigger brush, the Neptune has a not as pointy tip, it's a rounder tip. So the brush dictates kind of how the flower can go. See, a bigger, rounder, kind of looser kind of rose. You can start off making it light and then going in and bleeding in some deeper color. It's just a bunch of different ways to do it. So we'll do some roses, we'll do some typical other flowers, like almost like a poppy kind of flower we could do, where you just kind of, it's like this movement up and over and down, up and over and down, connect them. And then do like a little half moon. And then you fill in the center. But I'll talk about it as I go. Sometimes I forget that I zoomed in. But we'll talk about this as I go along. So, like I said, there's no right and wrong. And the colors. I'm going to grab some more paper towels. It got pretty wet. Wet on wet. Okay, so let's start off doing the heart one first. And like I said, what we do here, we can basically do here, and then, you know, you can add some variations to it or colors. So, you know, we talked about the colors I mixed up. I'm going to be using some magenta. I did like a blush tone here. And I actually have this color here called cadmium red light. You can play around with that one too. And I'll start off using my Princeton brush. And I don't have a plan. If you wanted to do, you could, you know, draw out where you want the flowers. But I like to, like I said, intuitively paint them. It just works for me. Not necessarily the way it might work for you. Maybe you want to sketch it out. You do want to have a lot of filling in all the color, especially around the heart. So I figured it's Valentine's. Let's do some roses around there. And do some pink and some red. And we just, see, it's very watery, this particular little mark I made. And I'll just play around with fixing that. I'll do a couple of those. Grab my magenta here. Just like I showed you in the practice. I could do some bigger ones if I wanted to. I'm going to do it in threes here. I'm going to clean up my brush. And I'll grab some water and just kind of push that paint around. It depends what kind of rose you want to do. If you don't want to do a rose, it could be daisies, it could be violets, it could be pansies. But typically, you know, Valentine's Day, we see roses. And I'm just playing around with adding the color. When that dries, I can go back in and add some deeper color too. And the size of the flowers too. So they're pretty good size, not too small. I want some good bold flowers around the heart. So I got some pink ones there. I might go and grab some of this red color that I have. This cadmium, just right out of the tube, red and light. And make some red roses. So I'm doing combination, red and pink. Again, just the same, kind of like leaving the white spaces. Just a simple flower. As you notice, I'm going to do another one small here. I kind of do a lot of florals in threes. It's just for me a balancing thing. Not everybody does that, but my dad's a fine artist, and he drilled it into me, do it in threes, you know, it looks better for the eye. I'm like, all right. So that's what I do. See, the rose is kind of going around. At this point, I could go in and start start going in and making some leaves. We talked about the leaves. Now I have some nice pretty, like chartreuse kind of color green, which is the yellow and the peacock blue. I can make more of a medium tone by adding the more blue, not yellow. And then sometimes I like to add a little burnt umber to change up the, if I don't want the color so bright, see, I just change it, looks more of an olive green. And if you want to go back in again and add, make it brighter. It all depends on the colors you want. I like to have a combination of 3 greens, and then I'll do another one with Prussian blue up here, and I'll add the yellow. Prussian blue is a really deep blue, and I'll come with my brush. I don't want to muddle the yellow too much, and I'll add yellow and my blue, so it gets a nice deep blue, green color, and I'll add a little burnt umber. And play around with this color. I can make it even darker. Okay, so we got our greens. So I'm going to start playing with some of the, putting in some leaves. Just simple leaves, kind of flanking around some of the flowers in between the spaces. If you have flower, 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 and no break, see, I use that light green with some greenery. It's just, I mean, it would look nice, but it's prettier if you have the break with some of the greenery. I'm just making the shapes that I talked about, and it's going in between and here. It's prettier when you start, and it just helps you to paint without having a plan. You start doing color of the greens after you put a few flowers in, and then you can go back in and add more flowers, or even darker green. Sometimes I'm adding a dark green here and here, and then now I can plan out to add some more flowers or leaves or stems. So now I might grab some really deep fuchsia at this point. Let me add a little yellow, like a deep red fuchsia. Put one like maybe a different type of flower. I can go right on top of this rose that I did, almost like a poppy petal flower. Let me zoom in so you can see. And again, I'll kind of like balance it by putting some of it over here, the same tones, and out here. See, it's sneaking in there, but you see how I did that kind of V, kind of like a kitchen, right? They always talk about in the kitchen, they have that triangle. And I can go back in on the rose that I did here and just put a deeper tone. You could do one side just kind of deeper. That's kind of how I like to do it. Like one side gets a little deeper and the other side. All right. Then I'm going to go back and take that blush tone and maybe put some of the petal flower out here, similar to the one I just did. You're playing around with the flowers now. See, almost like a 4-petal flower. Simple, simple, simple. And you say, it might not be simple to me, but it is pretty simple. You're just making the simple shapes of petals. See? Now it's really wet. I'm trying to make it light, so I have to keep dabbing the paper towel. Some people ask me all the time, it's so much water. I say that's why they keep a paper towel close by, and I'm removing the paint, and it becomes lighter. Or you could just take it all off your brush and then do that. Then you have a nice pale flower. I'll go back in and maybe make a nice bright flower. So I'm keeping it simple with some pinks and reds. You could change it up and make it brighter, different tones. Or you can make the flowers even bigger than I'm doing, right? And you can make roses everywhere. I'm gonna go and add another rose right here. See, I'm constantly tapping on the paper towel to remove the excess. Now at this point, I might grab some brown or even a dark green, and I might go out here with the tip of my brush and start adding some stems, kind of flaring out from the flowers. And then from the stems, I'll build out and add some more branches off that, and some flowers and some leaves. This is how we build out the whole design, make it interesting. Still, again, no, I have not drawn out the plan. I'm just playing around with the leaves now and adding in branches and blooms. It doesn't have to be really complicated. Little teeny leaves here coming from these branches. You can make bigger ones. Out here, I'm doing some bigger ones. See that? Maybe I'll make these ones a little bit bigger and brighter. It looks a little muddled. Just like that. And then from there, you know, I'm going in and add some dark green in here, filling in some dark spaces. Because when you remove the heart, you want to be able to make sure that you can totally see that it's white heart and the rest of it's all color. So from here, you know, you're going to be adding in, again, taking your colors, simple flowers. You can make almost like a tulip flower here, and that's just a movement of just going like this. See? Pretty simple. It's that red. Again, I'm removing some of the paint because it's so much excess. And I'll do another one here. And do some more of these kind of simple looking, kind of loose tulips. And kind of move it around. Just go down here and do the same thing. So kind of whatever I'm doing here, I'm going to probably do on the other one, but maybe a little bit bigger. See, pretty simple shapes again. Flaring out. You can have one side that flares more than the other. And again, I can go back into this rose, get a little deeper with that red. Or if you don't want to do that, don't have to do that. Going in some blush color. Just these simple little blooms. See how simple they were to paint? And now I'm going to go back in with the fuchsia color. Well, it's magenta really, not fuchsia. And add some of those coming down off this little branch. Can add a bloom out here, just like we did these. So you're going to have to go back in and add some more greenery. But you get my drift here, guys. You know, you're just moving the paint around, the paper around, getting some more branches, adding some more leaves. It helps to like turn the paper. Spots in here. This is all white in here. We want to add maybe a deeper green around that pale blush flower. You see how I'm filling it with deeper green? Same thing in here and over here. Put a deeper green petal out here. You want to balance it. Maybe we put another one out here and up and over in here. Got to balance some of the greens also, just like you're balancing the flowers. And I'll put some nice big leaves, really loose, out here, some up here. And there you go. And then we'll go back in. We can, you know, add some more tones to this. With the point, you can add little, show you real quick. See, it's very watery. I've got to tap it on my paper towel first. Just to take the tip, make these little marks kind of spraying out, like almost like little spider lines. See that? Going from the center outward. Those are little details that change the flower. And here I'm going to go back in and add some deeper tones to this rose. And get a little darker here. Just tapping in a deeper color. Same thing here. See? I'm going to keep playing around with that. Go back into this one. Doing the same thing. All right. So I'm just going to fill in some more branches and we'll come back. All right, so I filled in some more. You can take some deeper greens and just make some veins on your leaves. And I'll show you that real quick. So I've got the deeper, darker green. Just put little lines. Again, you're just adding more, you know, details. Veins to your leaves. You don't have to get that detail oriented. You can fix the leaves here. It doesn't have to be this detail. It can be really loose. You know, another little trick too. I'm gonna go add some more of this yellow chartreusey cone color. You can just kind of fill in the little spots, just kind of washing in the color a little bit. You don't have to be like, it doesn't have to be a particular shape. You just can kind of just fill it in. See, I'm just kind of throwing in some bright green. I'll just fill it in. Now, some of the flowers have a center that needs like a, you know, some kind of center. I'll just drop in some yellow. It's just simple color. And the ones that needed a center. Those little simple petal flowers. Just dab a little dab of yellow. All right, so we're gonna let that dry. When that dries, we'll remove it and we'll play around with taking it off, see how it looks. So again, the same thing with the love. You might want to change up the flowers a little bit. I'm going to change up the flowers. As I showed you before, I'm using the number 10 brush. I can make some more poppy type flowers. See, these are like just like that. All right? You can keep it all, like, you don't even have to use the pinks and the reds. You can just do all different colors. But I'm going to just change it up a little bit. Maybe make them much bigger. See how those look bigger? Change it up a little bit. Really simple flowers. Sometimes the simpler is easier. And you're going to go through and you're going to just keep adding your pinks and your reds. Big simple flowers might be easier for some people. But you got to fill in all the spaces around the letters so you can actually See the letters come alive. So I'm just going to go around, like I said, just making the simple flowers. And I showed you how to do those in the beginning. You can make little smaller ones. I'm using a 10 brush, so they'll be really loose. At this point, I'm going to add a few more flowers, and then I can go in and add some leaves. Let's see, pink. Trying to keep this one a lot simpler. I'll show you the difference. Like I said, you could put roses in this one if you wanted to. Don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing. Just giving you guys some ideas. Okay, I'm gonna go back and grab my 10 so I can get little smaller ones. Excuse me, my 10, my number 8 Princeton long round. So notice how I did a lot more of color first of the pinks. And now I'm going to start adding in some of the greens. So like a little, we really got to fill in all the words, the letters around the word. Oh, excuse me, all the areas around the letters. I can't speak anymore. I think the pandemic has made me lose my brain cells. Doing simple leaves again. Could do some sprays out here if you want. Trying to keep this one a little bit simpler. I can go in and add some more flowers. I can do the little veins in this one. This one's still wet, so it's bleeding in. Gonna keep adding some. This is still wet, so I'm gonna wait a little bit before I put the leaves in because it's still very, very wet. But I might put some little tulip type flowers out here on the edge. I don't like how red that is. I might move it, make it more pink. Put some over here. You get the idea. They could look like tulips, or they could look like little hearts. See? Each petal could be like a little heart too. It's a little pun. All of these could be hearts around the love too, by the way. That's another thing you can try and do. Doesn't all have to be flowers. It can be hearts. Which should be kind of pretty. All right, you can do little berries. I'm doing some little berries here. I'll add the greenery in a bit. This is still all damp, so when this dries, I'm going to go in and add the little details. I'm going to come back. Okay, so most of it's dry. I'm going to go back in with some deeper pinks and just do that thing I was telling you where you take the brush and you kind of just push the paint, little lines going around from the center outward. I'll show you again one more time. So just like that, really loose. It can be thicker or thinner, however you like it. It can be really just kind of like just a bold color going in here like I just did here. Just really simple. See, I'm just kind of swooshing it around. It, you know, depends on how you want it to look. So you might switch that around and add a deeper color here. I don't want it to be too detail-y. I like how simple and loose it was. So I might just go in and add some, just a little bold drop of color. Just really simple. See, just like that. Just a really simple, bold drop. And you see how I snuck little hearts in here. I can add a little dark color on the bottom and the pink. Play around with that. Like I said, I'm not doing all those really intense lines on this one. I wanted this one kind of really loose. Simple and fun. Just you're tapping in the color. Really simple. You know it's a flower. And then you can go in and start adding in some greens. I'm going to mix up more green here. Fill in all these little areas. So you can fill in the areas with all these greens, and then around that, the still white areas, you can go back in and fill, if you want to fill in black or a deep gray or even a dark green. So I'm going to add the stems here. I'm not going to do a lot of branches on this one, just a few. I'll make this one a little bit different. You see I'm just going in and adding these just simple leaves throughout the spaces that we want covered, so you can see, you can just put the color right next to. It doesn't have to be perfect. Grab some of that deeper green, put some of that in here, right next to those letters. This would have like a center, so I wouldn't touch that part. But the areas next to the letters. See how I'm adding like the deep green? So that those letters will pop out. Just kind of filling in those spaces with the green. Those little white spaces in between the flowers. Because they'll pop out more. Put the stem in here. But you get the idea. So I'm going to go back and fill in all the spaces. And the centers, just clean up a little bit. I can add yellow. You could add a little black. I might add a little yellow. A little center. Find all the little centers. You can add a little brown too around it. Ooh, that one was not pretty. Just adding a little touch of yellow and some new centers. Really simple, like I said. And then we're going to come back and we're going to remove everything and we're going to see how it looks. Oh, there you go. Okay, guys, so what I did was, like I showed you, all the little white spaces in between the light green, I just filled it in with really a deep dark green. It's just fairly simple. You just take the brush, you see, and if you, in the other areas that are super light still, you want to fill them all in, maybe a little bit light green too. Just around the letters, so it's going to really kind of pop when it removes. You know, that's the whole goal. So you don't have to make it. And I added some little teeny little stems here with some leaves for more detail. You don't have to do that. You can go back in and add little stems, veins on your leaves if you want. And listen, this isn't, like I said, it doesn't have to be flowers. The whole thing can be greenery, and then the word love. So now I'm really going to let this dry. I'm going to come back and remove the masking fluid and see how it comes out. All right, guys, the moment of truth. Let's do the heart one first, since this is the most dry. Oh my goodness. This is like when I remove the tape. I loved it. Look at that, it's fun. This is why I love this tool. Ooh, it just comes up so easily. Look at that. Simple, right? You can write something inside, be mine, love, just leave it simple like that. And let's get the love. You can do an initial. I have a tutorial where I did an initial one. Someone's birthday. It's just a fun idea. Like I said, it doesn't have to be flowers. You can just do hearts. And you have the love. Don't you love my singing? So it didn't have to be card. It could just be a nice, beautiful gift you give somebody. But look how pretty if you attach it for a card. and they can remove it and they can frame it. Somebody asked before, how would you stick it down? Double stick tape might not work. Glue gun maybe. You know, I've used double stick tape. It's curling right now. What I suggest when it curls, the paper curls, flip it over, put an iron on it, and an iron will flatten it out really well. I don't know if I would use steam. I would use flat, just heat, but it should flatten it out. And then you can stick it with the double stick tape. Or those command strips really work, but they're kind of expensive. But, you know, any kind of glue too. And actually what really would work is rubber cement. So this is a rubber cement pickup. Have you ever heard of rubber cement? So what rubber cement really sticks down, we had to use it in college. So you paint this, or just paint the edges, right? With rubber cement here. And then where you're going to put it down, rubber cement here. And when it sticks, it really sticks. So that's another thing. If you try that. I don't have it with me. I haven't used it in a while, but there you go, guys. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. So basically, just the loose roses. If you want to do roses around here, and a simple petal flower. See how just those really goofy, simple petal flowers? But it has a really pretty look to it when it's simple like this, right? I just love it. And I didn't think this is not that complicated. And you just go in and do those little marks to make a little darker in the center on this yellow dot. And it comes out really pretty, you know. And this is a little more technical with the roses, but I showed you how to do it. So if you have any questions, please leave in the comment section. Thank you so much for stopping by on Floral Friday. We're back to Floral Fridays now that Christmas is over. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And if you haven't hit those bell notification button, please hit the bell notification button to know my tutorial is up. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care, and I'll speak to you soon.